Hey Dad, you know what will be a great New Year resolution? You could try to get in better shape. You could start eating more vegetables for your kidneys. A 61-year-old dad decided to improve his health. He started following a better diet full of veggies that he was never eating before, such as spinach, potatoes, beets, rhubarb, and more. This is what happened to his kidneys. TM is a 61-year-old businessman and father of 3. He presented to the emergency department of the Adventist Medical Center in Bolingbrook, Chicago, with severe shortness of breath and weakness. He was in a wheelchair because he couldn't support his own weight anymore and was gasping for air. They later found out that his creatinine was very high at 15.11 milligrams per dl, meaning that he was suffering from acute kidney injury and was in need of emergency dialysis. His son explained to the admitting nurse that just a few weeks earlier, he had convinced his father to start eating vegetables. "Is this all my fault?" the son asked the nurse, but the nurse shrugged it off. A man had destroyed his kidneys in 2 months by eating vegetables. The hypothesis was that vegetables don't cause kidney damage, or do they? Wait, what? Gathering here, welcome today to a new real story from the emergency room. As usual, this patient story is based on a real case report published in the World Journal of Nephrology and Neurology in March 2020. But today's case is special to me. Well, today's case also comes with a warning. Things are not always what they look like in a medical mystery like this one. The problem is still being studied today by medical science. This type of kidney damage doesn't happen very often, just in about 12 patients in the last decades. If you think this is interesting, remember to share this video so other people can enjoy it too. But don't jump to conclusions about what happened to CM before seeing how it actually ends. You see, before being hospitalized, CM was suffering from diabetes and gout, but his kidneys were okay. He was taking metformin for his diabetes, statins for his cholesterol, and allopurinol for gout. But CM never really paid any attention to his own health. His job and his family always took priority in his life. Nothing else really mattered, including his own health. He would very frequently binge on peanut butter, eating up to half a jar in a single sitting. He was also used to drinking 3 to 4 large cups of coffee daily. But this year it was going to be different. CM promised his younger son that he would take his New Year resolution seriously. A promise to his own son wasn't something he was going to forget, so he decided to start immediately by adding more vegetables to his diet. But that's when things started to go south for him. After 1 month of his new improved diet, his legs started to swell. He had never suffered from swelling before, but he didn't really have the time to pay attention to that symptom. He had too much work to do that week. After 2 months of his vegetable-rich diet, he woke up one morning so tired that he was barely able to get up from his bed. He had to call in sick at work for the first time in years. Even his secretary was dumbfounded and worried. CM was never sick, he was always working. He eventually did get up from his bed just to go to the bathroom. What happened next really scared him. There was something red in his urine, and he also noticed for the first time that he was breathing way faster than what he was used to. "What is happening to me?" he thought. "Should I book an appointment with my doctor, or am I supposed to call an ambulance if I see red in my urine?" But there was no more time. Going back to bed, CM's head started to spin so fast that he lost his balance and fell to the ground. He was barely able to reach his phone and called an ambulance. When CM was brought to the emergency department, he was found to have suffered severe acute kidney injury. His kidneys were not working anymore, and that was causing all the symptoms: swelling, fatigue, hematuria, and even his inability to breathe and sustain his own weight. Something was destroying his kidneys, and it was not diabetes because, well, it was way too fast to be diabetes. You see, before being hospitalized, CM's creatinine was just 1.6 milligrams per dl, just slightly high, not even high enough to be considered kidney disease. His diabetes was being treated, and he had no family history of renal disease, kidney stones, or any gastrointestinal disorders. So, what was causing all that damage? His creatinine was now 15.11, however, and his GFR was down to 2.8. His kidneys weren't working anymore, but why? What was causing all that damage to his kidneys? After the first day's dialysis session, CM was lucid enough to help the doctor with the diagnosis. He confirmed that he was still taking his diabetes medications and also denied any consumption of dangerous substances. He wasn't even taking NSAIDs or antibiotics known to cause damage. He told the doctors he had never been exposed to anything dangerous for his kidneys, like contrast media in an MRI. Nothing made sense, and the doctors were confused. But CM's kidneys weren't being destroyed by an alien force or an ancient curse. There must have been a medical explanation for what was happening. Maybe a renal ultrasound was going to give the doctors the answer they needed. It was the third day of CM's hospitalization now, and the renal ultrasound was completely unremarkable. Just one more thing to do now, a renal biopsy. A renal biopsy is a medical procedure in which a small piece of the kidney is removed from the body for examination, usually under a microscope. It's a way to actually see what's going on in the kidneys. This time, what the doctors found out in CM's kidneys was so remarkable that they actually wrote and published an article about this finding. Now, what are we looking at? Here, you can see fibrosis in CM's nephrons. Fibrosis is a term that indicates that the tissue in the nephrons, the tiny filtering units in the kidneys, is being damaged. Fibrosis means thickening or scarring of the tissue, and here's the cause of the damage. These bright spots you see here are calcium oxalate crystals in CM's renal tubules. Now, calcium oxalate crystals are the most common cause of kidney stones. These are hard clumps of materials that are tearing through CM's nephrons and tubules, destroying his kidney function. Now, this brings us to an even bigger medical mystery. How is it possible that a man with no history of kidney stones, nor risk factors, completely lost his kidney function at 61 years old due to oxalate crystals? There are various known mechanisms that can cause oxalate crystals to form: a surgery or a disease that causes increased absorption of oxalate. But CM didn't have any disease or surgery that would cause oxidative problems. A very high intake of vitamin C, like what happened in one of the case studies we have already seen, is also a cause, but CM wasn't supplementing any vitamin C. A dietary deficiency of calcium, magnesium, or water intake may also cause oxalate crystals. So now CM is being questioned about his diet. He said he was always drinking lots of water, but admitted to a diet that was consistently heavy in nuts and coffee, as well as in many vegetables rich in oxalates, such as rhubarb, beets, and spinach. In all that good stuff, he also claimed to consume enough calcium by eating cheese and yogurt almost every day, so having oxalate crystals shouldn't have been possible for him. And yet, here we are. You see, a case of kidney damage caused by oxalate crystals in the absence of any of these risk factors is incredibly rare. It has only happened around a dozen times in medical literature, and it's well worth publishing a paper about it. Was CM eventually able to make it home safe, or was he going to have to do dialysis for the rest of his life? Before that, a very important question I'm sure many of you are thinking about now: are oxalate-rich foods dangerous? Foods known to be highest in oxalate include spinach, rhubarb, beets, legumes, nuts, chocolate, and coffee. These are all very healthy for you, coffee and chocolate included. While it's not recommended to consume coffee and peanut butter in the amounts CM was consuming, they could be part of a healthy diet. But CM's diet was what caused his kidneys to fail in a very short amount of time. Can that happen to other people too? Well, that's unlikely for most people, kidney patients included. You see, bacteria in your gut will break down oxalates before they can cause you trouble. Dietary calcium is also going to prevent oxalate from crystallizing in the kidneys. While many calcium-rich foods are to be avoided in a renal diet, taking Tums and acids that are made of calcium carbonate is both a way to keep phosphorus levels down and to prevent any risk correlated to oxalate. Now, there are people who must pay attention to oxalate-rich foods, however, those prone to kidney stones. If you had kidney stones in the past, you are more likely to get them again. And if they are calcium oxalate stones, the most common type, limiting oxalate will be a good strategy. People who have had gastric bypass surgery, or surgeries that affect how the gut works, may also have high oxalate levels in their urine. So, if you have gut dysfunction or take antibiotics, you may want to eat a low oxalate diet. But for most people, the benefits of nutrient-dense, high oxalate foods far outweigh their risks. And while CM didn't have any of these risk factors for kidney stones, as we have seen, how is it possible that he had oxalate crystals in his kidneys? Researchers were only able to find one explanation for this incredibly rare phenomenon, a rare genetic mutation involving one of the kidney proteins, which could have caused inflammatory problems. I'm not getting too much in depth about this, but it was actually only observed in mice before CM's case. CM's problem was also linked to gout, so this paper also tells us that there may be a link between gout and kidney damage caused by oxalate. Okay guys, do you want to see how it ends? Let's see if CM was eventually able to make it home safe. After his hospitalization, CM was started on dialysis. After 3 weeks on dialysis in the hospital, CM gained back a little bit of kidney function. Unfortunately, when he left the hospital, his kidney function was still too low for him to be dialysis-free. But not all hope was lost. You see, CM never had chronic kidney disease, and by completely stopping what was causing damage to his kidneys, there is hope for him to get enough kidney function back. CM was also instructed about his rare condition and told to avoid oxalate-rich foods. Now guys, I'm glad I talked about oxalate and the risks connected to what some call an anti-nutrient because, as we have seen, some kidney patients should actually limit their intake of this substance. In today's video, you're going to hear some truly jaw-dropping stories like a 26-year-old woman who landed in the hospital with kidney failure after nothing more than a trip to the hair salon. Or a young man whose kidney literally ruptured after a gym workout. Or even a 71-year-old who needed a transplant because of a single food. I want to take you inside one of these cases that really shook me. A young Tunisian woman, just 26 years old, went through 3 separate bouts of acute kidney injury in just 2 years. Each time she was rushed to the hospital, burning with fever and pain. Doctors eventually found strange calcium oxalate deposits inside her kidneys, damage so severe it was hard to even believe. And what triggered it? Not medication. Not a disease. But something as ordinary as a hair straightening treatment. She just wanted to tame her curls with a Brazilian-style procedure. The salon reassured her everything was safe. They were even using formaldehyde-free products. But here's the chilling part. Those replacements, with chemicals like glyoxal and carboxylane, have now been linked to dozens of cases of kidney damage worldwide. Some women even ended up needing dialysis. Most people recover after acute kidney injury. But not all. That's why this story matters so much. Because behind the headlines, it's a reminder, something as innocent as a beauty treatment can carry hidden dangers that steal away kidney health. Thankfully, this young woman did recover enough to live a normal life, and I hope she's embracing her curls now too. And this is just one case. There are 4 other stories you need to hear today, each one revealing a hidden risk that could cost you your kidneys. Stick with me, because knowing these could save your health or someone you love. If you find this important, please share it with a friend. The more people know, the more lives we can protect. Number 4, the hidden risk of pushing too hard at the gym. Now, this next story will probably make you think twice the next time you load up the barbell. It happened in 2021 and, honestly, it's even more unbelievable than the case of the young woman with curly hair. A 20-year-old man walked into the emergency room after a gym session and his kidney had literally exploded. Crazy, right? Here's what happened. During an intense weightlifting session, he suddenly felt a sharp, bursting pain in his abdomen. The CT scan revealed something shocking: only his left kidney was visible. His right kidney? Still there but shattered into pieces. Doctors had no choice but to remove what was left, along with nearly 700 cubic centimeters of internal bleeding. So, how does a kidney even explode? It came down to something a lot of us unknowingly do while lifting heavy: the Valsalva maneuver. That's when you hold your breath and push hard to stabilize your spine. It spikes the pressure inside your body. Normally, this is safe. But in his case, there was a hidden danger. His right kidney was already atrophic and hydronephrotic, small, blocked, and filled with fluid. That sudden surge of pressure was enough to make it rupture. Thankfully, his remaining kidney was healthy, and just 3 days later, he walked out of the hospital pain-free and with normal kidney function. Now, is this common? Not at all. But it's a powerful reminder: extreme strain isn't always better. If your goal is long-term kidney and heart health, sometimes listening to your body and training smart is far more important than pushing past the limit. Number 3, the keto diet's hidden danger. Now, this next story honestly surprised me even more. We all know pushing too hard in the gym can carry risks, but what about a diet? Something that just a few years ago everyone was raving about? Believe it or not, that's exactly what sent a perfectly healthy 24-year-old woman to the ER in 2018 with acute kidney failure. Here's the backstory. She was just 18 months postpartum, still recovering from childbirth, when she suddenly developed severe nausea, stabbing low back pain, and a racing heart. By the time she reached the ER, her breathing was so fast she looked out of breath just sitting still. Doctors immediately suspected something serious. Her symptoms lined up with ketoacidosis, a dangerous state where the body becomes overloaded with acid. But here's the strange part: ketoacidosis usually strikes diabetics or patients in later stages of illness, not young, otherwise healthy women. So how could this happen? The answer was hiding in plain sight: her diet. She had been following the keto diet, and while nursing, her body needed more fuel for milk production. That energy gap pushed her body to burn fat too aggressively, creating an overload of ketones and tipping her into ketoacidosis. Thankfully, with insulin, glucose, and a return to eating carbs, she improved quickly. She didn't recover 100% of her kidney function, but she avoided a far worse outcome. The lesson here? Keto, carnivore, or any extreme diet can carry hidden dangers, especially for new mothers, people with diabetes, or anyone with kidney concerns. Our bodies aren't designed for extremes, they thrive on balance. And sometimes, a bowl of rice or fruit can literally save your kidneys. Number 2, the hidden danger of peanut butter. Now, this one really took me by surprise. We're not talking about exotic poisonous fish, strange tropical fruits, or greasy fast food. The food that destroyed a man's kidneys in 2019 is something nearly all of us have in our kitchen right now: peanut butter. Here's what happened. A 71-year-old man arrived at the ER barely able to breathe. He was so weak he had to be wheeled in, gasping for air. Tests revealed his creatinine was through the roof. His kidneys had suddenly failed, and he needed emergency dialysis on the spot. But just 2 months earlier, his kidneys were perfectly healthy. So what happened? Well, doctors discovered he had been eating huge amounts of peanut butter, washing it down with coffee. And this triggered something called oxalate nephropathy, basically, calcium oxalate crystals forming inside the kidneys. Think of it like kidney stones, but far more destructive. Now, normally, this only happens to 2 groups of people: those with a rare genetic disorder called primary hyperoxaluria, or those with gut issues that make them absorb oxalates differently. Most of us could eat spoonfuls of peanut butter without any problem. But this man was different. He had a previously unknown genetic mutation that caused his body to overreact with massive inflammation when exposed to oxalate-rich foods. What doctors saw in him had only ever been reported in lab mice, never in humans. In the end, his kidney function was permanently lost. His story was so rare that doctors published a medical paper about him. So, what's the lesson here? For most people, peanut butter is perfectly safe. But if you've had kidney stones before, or you're living with kidney disease, then yes, you need to be more cautious with high oxalate foods. For this man, it was peanut butter. For someone else, it could be spinach, nuts, or even chocolate. The truth is, our kidneys are more fragile than we realize, and sometimes, the danger is hiding in the very foods we trust the most. Number 1, the hidden danger of vitamin D toxicity. And finally, we've reached number 1. This story isn't about some exotic poison or a bizarre accident, it's about a single vitamin. A vitamin most of us have been told is essential and even safe. But for one man, it nearly destroyed his kidneys forever. In 2018, a 54-year-old man returned home to Canada after a sunny vacation in South Asia. He had spent plenty of time sunbathing, feeling healthier than ever. But soon after, he landed in the hospital with almost no kidney function left. Now, this man did have high blood pressure and cholesterol, but he'd never had kidney problems before. Doctors were puzzled. How could his kidneys suddenly crash? They questioned him about food, travel, medications. Nothing explained it. Until he mentioned his supplements. Years earlier, an expert had recommended high doses of one particular vitamin. He had been taking it faithfully, and then, on top of that, decided to take even more because he thought it was helping. Combine that with days of tropical sunshine, and suddenly the puzzle came together. It was vitamin D toxicity. Here's the problem: vitamin D is fat-soluble, which means your body stores it. Even when he stopped the supplements, his vitamin D levels kept climbing for weeks, leaching out from his fat cells. The overload of vitamin D caused hypercalcemia, too much calcium in his blood. And instead of forming stones, the calcium hardened into tiny deposits throughout his kidneys. Calcification like this never fully disappears. He was lucky. He regained part of his kidney function and avoided lifelong dialysis. But the damage left him with stage 3B kidney disease, a permanent reminder of how dangerous too much of a good thing can be. And here's the real takeaway: vitamin D is absolutely critical for kidney and bone health. But the dose matters. Too little can be harmful, and too much can be devastating. That's why I always stress balance, and why I created a full guide to help you take vitamin D safely. So please, be careful with this one. Your kidneys are too precious to gamble with. This is all for today. Thank you for watching. God bless.